On a le original.
Oui, puis on l'a fait de promotion aussi.
Hein? C'est ça?
On a le...
Je voulais lui donner la bonne nouvelle tantôt.
Oui. The original streaming marche.
The original streaming works.
As long as salut mon, là.
As long as they say hello.
Oui. Bravo. Ah. Bonsoir tout le monde.
Good evening, everybody.
J'espère que ça va bien.
I hope everything's going well. Great, great. Welcome to our meeting. It's the regular public meeting for February 20th. And I would like to say a few things before starting. First of all, we are gathered on traditional unceded Mi'kmaq territory. And in the room, as you can see, if you look in the other direction, we have put up the photos again. The photos of all the former councils, the municipal councils, the town councils. When they were taking photos, some municipal councils, they took no pictures back in the day. So there we have noted who were the members on the council. And something new in technology, and we hope everything's working well. Not only are we broadcasting in French and in English with translation, we are now broadcasting separately on an untranslated version. So for the bilingual people who would just like to hear the main floor, English or French directly, you can do that as well. We have 3 YouTube channels now, oddly enough.
At least that.
So there's at least that. So, Mr. Clerk, we do have quorum. There's one of our members who will be remote, and they'll join us a bit later. Some delays on that front. Are there any members of the council who would like to declare a conflict of interest given the agenda? I don't see anything. Councillor Paul Boudreau? It's on that topic, but I forgot to mention, it's a sadder note. A few weeks ago, a former member of the council, Yvon Gautreau, passed away. Those who know Yvon, he was very busy in the community. Councillor Peter, instigator of the Big Lobster as well. With your permission, I'd like a moment of silence, please. Thank you very much. He's actually on a few photos that we see behind him. So please, a moment of silence for the passing of one of our former councillors and one of our friends, Mr. Gautreau. Thank you very much. Thank you for indicating that. I should have put that in my notes on the screen. I did not have it. Number 4, approval of agenda. You have the agenda before you. Simply moved by Deputy Mayor Sylvain Boudreau, seconded by Councillor Després. Any questions? Otherwise, all those in favor shall say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried. Next point, approval of minutes. We have minutes for the meeting on February 5th, 2 weeks ago, 2024. Does anybody have any notes on this, or errors or omissions, anything to indicate? I myself had seen something, but I didn't take note of it on my screen. It must not have been very important. All I would like to know is we need a mover moved by Councillor Leonard Cormier, seconded by Councillor Germaine Galland. Any questions, Councillor Jean-Ernest Cormier? Your Worship, it puts 2023 below. Okay. That's a little glitch when you change years, I guess. Great. So all those in favor shall say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried. We have 3 public presentations tonight. The first one is a presentation that we invited. Mr. Luc Bourgeot, we invited him over. Good evening. Please come to the podium in the center. We're going to put on the big lights, put you in the spotlight. Mr. Bourgeot is the consultant that the municipality has retained to guide us towards a new recreation center based on his experiences in another municipality. So welcome. Thank you, Your Worship, and good evening to the council and staff and community members. It's my pleasure to present the work that I've accomplished in the last few months. I had a meeting with the head of the municipality in December, and I've received a mandate to develop a document, a sort of manual that would explain the various phases to end up at the ultimate objective of having a recreation center in Shediac. I did that work. I had a meeting with staff administration in January, and tonight I've been asked to present overall what it is. I won't go into great big detail. It's only 10 minutes. I don't want to extend your meeting overly. So it'll just be in summary. Unless there's elements you don't understand, please wait for your questions at the end. There might be things I might explain a little later that will answer your question. It's a bit simpler that way. The document that I prepared is 11 phases in the process. There is the pre-construction phase, the construction phase, and the post-construction phase. As part of this document, I put in timelines. Be careful with these timetables. There can be factors along the way that can influence, well, obviously, these timetables that I proposed. I'll go into more detail on this, but just a slight warning. As I said before, I'll just give you the overall picture. There's lots of more options that could be provided, but I'm just going to present the overall picture here. So in pre-construction phase, there's 9 steps. And you'll understand that there's 11 steps in all. So most of the work is in the pre-construction phase. Lots of work has to be done. And each phase, I'll give you the title of the phase, but there's a lots more actions within each phase. So step 1, it's a needs analysis. I know that you've already started some work on this front 2 years ago, I believe, but there's still work to be done internally. I'm looking at Julie Bélanger next to me here. She has a recreation services, and there can be lots of information that have been gathered over the past few years over needs that have been stated, requests for needs, information. This is internal work that we should be doing, and this should happen from here to September 2024. After that, step 2, it's a complementary one. It's a consultation with the community. As I said, there was a consultation, but if we want to seek out specific groups and people who have specific interests with respect to this project, consultation is key to this project. So very important. It's very important to consult with your community. This is a step that we could do over the spring, and the question of continuing the work in consultation with the community. Forums would be important, community forums, and meeting with schools, meeting associations. Obviously, you have many community associations. You have to meet them. It's important. It's important to get feedback, and the private sector, business people. And there can be other groups as well. We're often surprised to see the comments and the interest that can be stated from different groups. I've seen lots of surprises in many projects where we hadn't quite thought of a certain concept, but it was groups that brought us the information. This is crucial. That phase is really important. Community consultation. Step 3, assessing the municipality's capacity. Big step. You need to be able to predict the construction budget, potentially a budget, even if the project is not completely settled on, there are nonetheless projections you can make and forecasting. When what operational budget could the town of Shediac allow itself? That is very important. Such a project like this is a long-term project. It's not just 5 years. So the challenge. So what's the scope that we want to build this to? Recreation center. You're going to build one. You're not going to build one every 10 years. It's a long-term project. And Shediac is experiencing enormous growth, and that growth should increase. It should increase as well. Lots of people are moving here. It's a beautiful community to live in, and this type of a project will definitely help you to attract more people here. But you have to have a long-term vision. So it's not easy, and you have to develop a construction budget, but prepare an operational budget, because operational, there is costs associated with operating a building. I'm not saying that if you were to close the existing arena, you'll transfer your human resources to another complex. Yes, but there'd be additional costs because the complex is larger and many elements that you currently don't have. So that phase will be key in the scope of the project that you'll be able to develop. So that's an internal work with people in finance and external consultation as well. I'll just give you some examples. The cost of furniture. You build the building, yes, but you need the equipment inside of it. Cost in human resources. Your complex will be much larger, and that is associated and more significant, and it adds HR costs. Costs for energy. That is a hard one to predict. Depends what type of energy you use, but that means additional costs. And then we'll present the revenue, the possible revenue. Are there partnerships within the community with the private sector? Would the private sector be renting space? With growth of the municipality and in terms of land taxes, property taxes, will it allow us to support like this type of project? There's grants and partnerships, etc. It's a big job. You got to do it well. So you want to put together a project that will hold itself up and that will not create future financial challenges for the municipality. Step 4 is to develop a business plan. This is a document that we would prepare to get grants and partnerships within the community. So here I would recommend that you hire a firm, a communications firm. It'll be a document that is very important to find financing among the various government levels. So that is a step often requires external help. So now there's the fundraising campaign. It would be a fundraising campaign, and I think that in the document that I'm offering, in the steps that I'm offering, this would be accomplished by May 2025. You might start at the end of this year, so you'll have a construction budget. You'll be categories of revenue, but probably one of the categories will be a fundraising campaign. For sure, the town will put in some money, and different government levels will as well, but there is nonetheless a fundraising campaign. So you can approach that in different ways. The committee could play a huge role. That committee, there'll be key community members who will have contacts, no doubt, outside of the region even. There's also existing firms, companies. Could be a combination of those things. You might hire a company to help us a bit at the start, and the company takes it up. There's different formulas, and the staff. You have to give sufficient time to staff to be able to help. And if the town does decide to manage the campaign, that's another element. But you can't expect to place employees and that it won't take a lot of time. There's a lot of time. This takes a lot of time for a financing campaign. And I stipulated that the request for government grants, there are cycles for these requests, and I put in May 2025 as a deadline for this. Next, there's step 6, choosing the appropriate construction type and center design. We're going to see where the campaign will bring us. That might give us a sense of things. We'll know the budget, the operational budget as well. So what are we ready to build? And how are we going to go about building it? There's different approaches. There's this design. There's hiring the architectural firm for us to do work in collaboration with them. It's a big step. This is we're talking about trying to complete this work for May 2025. The dates that I'm putting out there is quite realistic, but they are aggressive, but they are quite real. They are realistic. There's criteria to consideration environmentally. What are the needs, the short and long-term needs of municipality? And I would say that step 7 is complementary to step 6. I could have flipped them around, but it's the selection of the construction site. Where are we going to build it in the municipality? It could influence the type of construction that we would do. And I would tell you that there's different ways of developing this type of project. You can go by phase 1, phase 2. But try to do it in the first phase, though, because it will create momentum in the community. It will create an impact in the community. Often when you go to phase 2, it might take longer. It's more complicated. To try to maximize what you can, as much as you can develop in the first phase. So step 7 is the selection of the construction site for the building. So now it's step 8. It's developing a project proposal. We should be aiming October 25th to publicly announce the call to tender for the construction project. This is for sure a lot of work. We'd have to look for help with a consultant. I know that you have some expertise internally, but it is nonetheless a work that is very demanding. Step 9, I'd say this is continuous. This should happen throughout the project. It's communications. You have to be clear and transparent with the community. You're working with the community. You're the people who represent the community. You're close to your citizens, but keep people informed. You keep the community groups informed, and sometimes they need sessions or communication with the community. It's very important to communicate properly with the town and be transparent. If there are unexpected cost overruns, communicate them. People need to know that. So those are the 9 steps before you even start construction. The 10th step is construction. You hire the construction company and is starting the work to build. We'll be aiming June 2026. It's very important that the municipality hire a construction company, a company that will supervise the project for the town of Shediac. Experts in construction. It has to be documented. Every step has to be documented. Notes taken. Meetings related to construction. You'll have staff there, but to have someone externally who documents everything for you, that will make videos, etc. If in 5 years after the thing is built and 2 years after the construction is done, your project with one aspect of the building, there's guarantees that come into play. You need that documentation. It's a cost to hire a company to supervise in that way, but it's a form of warranty as well. It's like insurance, ultimately. So that's step 10, construction. And next, we could start this in October 26, but it's preparing for operationally. So how do we want the center to be managed? With the staff? Is it a board of directors? Is it a non-profit? Many possibilities exist. Are there partnerships you'd like to have with the community? You have to decide this at some point. October 2026 is a great time to start that discussion. and to come up with a proposal. Often municipalities manage it themselves. It's fine, but it does mean more. It could mean more human resources hired by the municipality. We're talking about the policies and procedures manual. This is a management tool. You're going to have lots of requests from here, there, and everywhere. Citizens and groups and expectations. People are going to say, we're paying taxes. We want such and such a service. That manual will help you to treat everyone equally. That is very important. There's equipment procurement, staff recruitment. So many other topics fall in that. Marketing plan, an opening plan, etc. The ultimate objective is to, at the end of the project, that it be done around 2028 or 2029. Lots of factors can change that timeline. Sometimes it takes longer to get financing. You don't start to grant contracts until you have the financing. Maybe delays in terms of materials with construction companies. We've seen the challenges faced by construction companies. But it gives you a sense that developing this type of project, it takes time and there's work. It's a serious matter. But I would tell you, for the municipality of Shediac, it would be a great benefit, incredible benefit to the town. Now that you're at this step of the reflection, to have such a complex will be so positive. You'll have competitions. People will be healthier, be able to offer our services to all of the community. So that's our presentation. It took 10 or 11 minutes, I think, but I'm ready. I'm not sure if you have any questions. Thank you very much. At least it shows the way. It's a lot of preparation. 9 and 10, 11 steps. Nine of the steps are preparatory. It's crucial. Preparation is crucial. As we said at the start, the presentation, you do this every 5 years. You don't want to miss the boat. Councillor O'Malley O'Brien. Thank you. Lovely presentation. It's very encouraging to see an opening date for 2028, 2029. I hope it happens. Will you be with us throughout the project, or? Well, I hope so, but it's... Well, I explained to staff that I'm ready to help with certain steps. Not an expert in everything. There's places where I said we have to hire out, but I'm certainly willing to support the staff. And I'm there when they need us, when they need me. So what you're doing is inaudible. It has nothing to do with soda and pools. Yes, it's a step of that in that. But you have to continue that consultation. Thank you. I hope that you'll be with us throughout the journey. A survey will check how the population at large feels about these things. We have to see the groups that we're going to use it, be it minor hockey, ringette, the stakeholders. You did. I found it was a very good step, that survey. You also did a random survey. This brings out other opinions, but Councillor Paul Boudreau. Yes, thank you. I told you you're smart, eh? Class of the rec from back in the day. It's a bit of a plug. Thank you very much. As Emile is saying, it's very interesting to see a bit of a timetable. 2 questions to you and to the administration. Where do you see in your timetable a committee for the representatives of the council or even citizens? Well, I'm not saying to manage the project. I've seen other projects, as you said. Where do you see this? Where do you see in the timetable? That's where I spoke of governance, but also there's a construction committee that you could have. There can be many committees. It depends how you want to manage the project. I think it's more in terms of governance. I think it's less in terms of the construction. But a committee also, in terms of the financing campaign, it's well perceived. So then you have influential people in the community who you can get help from. This is looking for a lot of dollars and financing campaigns. Financing for sure. But I think it's governance. How can you do governance? That's where you'll decide. Thank you. Secondly, human resources, financial resources for 2024 for this project. The question is for Victor. How many resources did we contribute to make progress on this project? I know we haven't yet spoken to the 2025 budget. So for this year, can we free up some funds to make projects on some of the files Luc is mentioning? Yes, there are some elements that we could finance within the existing budget. Maybe some larger elements that we could have to seek some additional financing. But certainly, the fact that we went to go see Luc is within the existing budget. We did include some money for this in the 2024 budget. And when we saw the 9 planning steps, well, for sure, it might take a little more money than what we set aside in the budget. But we can definitely start the process as presented with the money that we have. But we'll have to come back to things and identify some more funds in the budget. Thank you, Victor. I see lots of partners, 3 government levels, including the private sector. We're looking for a big amount from them. With the timetable, this is my question is for you, Luc, or Victor, you have experience in this, to coordinate or synchronize our applications, projects for the federal election. Let's not tie it. Can we coordinate it to have a precise timetable to go knocking at the door at the right time? Well, that's why we're aiming for May 2025. It's the federal election is in the fall of 2025. If all goes as foreseen, we saw in the last round that if we haven't completed all these steps, our project might not receive approval. So I have to be ready sure that we're ready next time. But certainly, with that cycle in mind, we have prepared that timetable. Thank you very much, Luc. It answers my question. Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Harry McEnroy.
Councillor Harry McEnroy.
Mr. Mayor, thanks for the presentation. It was well done. Thank you. There's a couple of things I'd like to comment on. One is the involvement of a strong core group of business folks and other professionals maybe within the community who know how to drive things from point A to point B. Right. I think that's important, which could be done in conjunction with council, of course, and the administration. The other thing I wonder about, and you would be more familiar with this than I am, but I am familiar with community centers, recreation centers, wellness centers, whatever, where there's a lot of co-location and synergies, rentals. You referenced rentals. Yes. For example, if you're focusing on physical health, you should focus on mental health. And there are services provincially and otherwise, I guess, that could co-locate in a facility like that. Also, your public or private sector, physiotherapy clinics, all kinds of things you could. Exactly. And I'm familiar, as I say, with closely with one operation that does very well financially that way. The library is co-located. Instead of paying rent in the private sector somewhere, you pay rent to the municipality. Absolutely. That sort of thing.
It's a good point, and that's what I mentioned earlier. Is the private sector can be a renter within the building. And physiotherapy clinic is a good example. I mean, you're going to have, if you have a swimming pool, there's a lot of rehabilitation that can be done in that type of facility, a walking track, what have you. So there's a lot of opportunity. And if you make space for that, but you have to plan it, right? And you have to consult before, because often we build and then we get all these requests, but there's not enough space. So,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
That's a good point. Mhm.
The library one, I've seen that work very well, where a parent will bring children to swim lessons or whatever, and then go to the library or go somewhere to do something else within the building. But the more you can have going on, the more people you have
Absolutely.
on a regular basis flowing through the building, the more revenue you get.
Yeah, and the multi-useness of the facility,
Yeah.
the more services you can get there, the
Yeah.
more people you're going to get there. And if somebody brings their child for a swim lesson, well, maybe they can do another course or have another service within the building. Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, good. Thank you, Councillor McEnroe. Conseiller Roland Cormier.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Merci, Monsieur Bugeaud.
Thank you, Monsieur Bugeaud, for the presentation. Just a question, Luc. We talk about the involvement of the private sector in terms of funding, fundraising campaign and so on. What's the rule of thumb on a construction? Do we have to get 10% of the total cost to make it viable, or is it 20 or 30%? And the reason, if the municipality wants to do this for the citizens, I see this as a partnership with the community. If the community is less interested, it's a good question. I'll explain why. It depends on the future of the project. If we do an enormous center and we have funds in other places, maybe the campaign will be lesser. Each municipality is different. Can I ask you, is it public information, for what DIEP has done? Is that public information? Yes, it is, because we talked about the campaign that got about 3.5 million. Yes, thank you. So they did a project, I think another one, Capoli, did something similar. So each municipality, and when we have partners like this and donors, we give them a certain visibility, like the bigger one. There'll be a choice of the council if you want to go in that direction. The naming right. Do we want to name the center on a donor or a private sector? An example like Uniplex is a good example. That Avenue Center in Moncton is named by the company. These are big amounts. So those big amounts, so that influences the percentage in terms of construction. Thank you. So it excites people in terms of what it could be, the steps and what could be done. The municipality takes those initiatives. So thank you very much for your attention, and good continuity. Paul Boudreau. So what do we do now? Yes. So the next step, what will it be? Well, it's a big presentation. Of course, there's a lot of issues associated.
Une petite résolution si le conseil.
We had a small resolution if the council was comfortable to go ahead. We got the mandate to proceed the plan. So if you agree, we can do this tonight, or we can do it next time. But there was a motion that had been put in these. It's suggested if you wanted to go ahead with that tonight.
Councillor Murray Lloyd.
I would estimate that this project would probably be in the range of 75 million.
You might be close, yeah.
And with the stress on our administration, and this gentleman so finally mentioned that administration can help here and help there, would we be smart to entertain at our cost a CEO of this project that can drive the project in all aspects? You can talk about committees.
A person whose sole job would be, yeah.
His whole job would be, and he would be responsible to administration, might even work under administration for that project, because this is a big endeavor. You know, just this last item you're talking about, well, you know, going to business to get a donor for a name. This is a big job.
Oh, yeah.
And this is not this is not done by a committee. My only point is that as we move forward, let's plan a step right now so that we know how we're going. We've got to have the right people in place. This is a lot of money, and our neck is on the line to our constituents on this.
Absolutely.
We can't fall on our face. So let's do it properly.
It's got to work.
Right.
Good idea. Well, like I said, we have as the CAO suggested, we have a proposed resolution, which at least, you know, just gives a general idea to staff in terms of, okay, we like what we saw, we're going to go forward in this direction kind of thing. Julie, tu avais quelque chose à ajouter?
Well, just to continue with Council Murray,
Yeah.
Lord, I love the idea. It's pretty simple as idea, but also when we heard all the steps that we have to follow, and we'll need committees on a lot of different panel of the development of the construction and the development of the center. Having one person just to make sure everything is going on properly and following the right step could be a good alternative, but we'll have to evaluate that with Luke just to make sure if we're not just adding someone, if we have enough for that person, let's say, because that person cannot run the financial development of the
I didn't say run. I said coordinate.
Yeah, coordinate, but
when you've got $75 million and you've got all of these aspects, this is a major job.
Yep.
And you need somebody in the athletic term, you need the quarterback. Okay? And I strongly suggest, and I appreciate your point, and I know where you're coming from. I cannot see administration. I think the stress is too heavy on administration for this type of project when we have other things on the table. So I strongly suggest that we look at this idea of a salaried, possibly, coordinator of this project, just for the project.
Yeah. No, and I do think it's a fair point, and to follow up on what Julie mentioned, I think, you know, if we get the mandate to pursue with this plan, then, you know, we can certainly look at that and other suggestions and other points that were brought forward. But again, we just wanted to make sure that, you know, council as a whole was comfortable with the direction, comfortable with the timelines. It's a question of managing expectations as well, right? This isn't something that's going to happen in 6 months. This is, you know, it's going to take several years. So we can definitely take that into account as well. And I appreciate the comments. But, you know, if we are given the mandate, then we'll certainly be coming back on a regular basis with suggestions and recommendations.
Sounds good. Coupe d'autres. Conseiller Jean-Claude. Conseiller Joël Desvrais.
À la lecture.
Joël, so be it resolved that the municipal council accept the plan presented, that the administration of the town of Shediac be mandated to initiate the steps required to implement this plan. So it's moved and seconded. So question,
Je pose la question. On a présentement
we now have the fire hall. A couple of years ago, we talked about the town hall, said it would be reviewed to see what we would do with that. Now we're looking at the center, which I agree with. But amongst all this, we're going ahead with the fire hall, and is the town hall on we've 2 years or 5 years are left and 2 left to rent here. There's nothing planned yet. That's something that we'll discuss as a council before the next election. We don't have much of a choice to look at those options so that the next council is able to orient us. I look at this as further. It's big numbers. Again, this week, somebody said, next time you do a budget, can you look at our taxes? So the money has to come from somewhere. So we have to be careful, careful what you wish for. So people, somebody's going to pay for it. So we just take count. But I agree with the project and just saying, yes, it's a good idea. But at some point, we have to look the overall of the activities in municipality that we can really afford. Doubling taxes is not somebody wants. So is that something that the municipality can afford? And right now, sometimes you have problems with such a center. So thank you. So with the motion on the table, all these on favor say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. So next one, we have a presentation from the Greater Shediac Community Center. There's some people in the room to make a presentation. That's on your project for support. Good evening, Ms. Mayor, members of the council. Same in English. Our presenters this evening. After so many years, I'm tired always doing the presentation. I think we got some new blood at the community garden center, and younger people, many ideas that help us quite a bit. So I'm happy to introduce Sherry. She can speak English, and François Sormani is our liaison for the LGR school, and Sherry is the treasurer, and I'm not far back.
This is new for me.
Switch to English.
I've not done this before. So my first time, I joined the community garden about a year ago when I moved to Shediac. And I've learned a lot, and I have a lot of belief in where it can go, especially after our recent COVID and food insecurities and organic gardening and whatnot. So this was my passion. So I did meet them through various networks and decided to join the team and learn what it's all about. So that's where I am as it stands now. And the garden we have a bit of a presentation we've put together with what we've done over the past year. It's been tremendous because, as you are all probably aware, that the garden was closed down from one lease and renewed a new lease. And we're breaking new ground, and we're hoping to grow further into the community. And I think there's a lot of buzz around the community garden. Oh, this is my clicker. I'm learning. So let's see how we're doing here. It's just a 24 slides. It'll show you what we've done in the past 8 to 9 months over the summer, and all of the what I feel is most important about this project is how much the community did get involved. How many sources throughout the community we reached out to and involved in our project and paid them. And so our purpose here this evening will be to show you where we've come in the past year with LJR as a partner and where we hope to go, and our request to expand a little bit further and to put in a greenhouse. So that's where we're going. So the screens will be up here. I'm not going to read them from here, so my vision is not that good.
It's okay. We've all had a chance to review it anyway, so.
Good. Okay, fantastic. So we do have Odette, who obviously has had this vision for a long time, and she's made some amazing steps this year in the new partnership. Francois, would you like to say anything before I continue on? Would you like me to just carry on? You'll wait till the end? Okay. Let's see. Yeah, like I said, I can't read them very well from here. They're off to the side, but that's okay. If you wish me to stop at any time or ask questions throughout the presentation, feel free. We have a fairly good sized group where we meet every 4 weeks and we talk about. Oh, thanks, Odette. Yes. Thank you. I now have to sit in front of me.
There you go.
Yes, we meet every couple of weeks to discuss, every 4 weeks or so we meet and discuss what's on the table, what we need to keep moving forward, how we should spend the money that we've been granted, and so on and so forth. And this is a good portion of our team is here on this slide. And I'm just going to advance to the next one and discuss our request for funding. So this is why we're here for this presentation this evening. We're looking for $10,000 from the town of Shediac to produce our greenhouse. Our greenhouse is our next big venture this summer. And with that greenhouse, we are talking about some partnerships with daycares and senior homes, and in teaching these entities on using a greenhouse and whatnot. Go forward here. This is where our garden closed down after 12 years of being in operation, and that was the dust that was left behind. And this is where we broke ground at the LJR, in behind the LJR school, where it was a very underdeveloped or undeveloped piece of land. And we managed to, we have a little video here of how we've cleared that land and put in a lot of fill to get rid of a lot of the mucky grounds that was there. Here we have a lot of the town of Shediac had come forth for us during this period and helped us clear some of this land as well. And now this one, it was our Day of Caring video clip. I believe this was done by the students at LJR. Yes.
Maxime qui est ici.
Okay.
Il a tout fait ça lui-même. C'est juste un autre point que je vais parler plus tard. Là. Ça démontre juste à
Casey did this by himself. He prepared this by himself and a little bit of cinema. Video that he did on the project. The Riker's first day of volunteer work. He's a bit far from the mic there. So it was to install, clean, put the boxes and everything in place.
Oh, sorry.
J'ai déjà fini.
So yes, this day of caring that we've had through United Way as well, we had hundreds of volunteers come and build boxes for us so we could get them. We did salvage all of our organic soil and whatnot from the previous garden to put into this garden. So during this period this summer, we did get a good bulk of the boxes built, filled, and seeds planted. We were late, but we were pushing it. So we did okay. Here's a good example. I'm going to say, here's where we feed all our volunteers. It's just such a good spirit to see everybody. This networks out through everybody's families at home and whatnot as well. It's just making a lot of buzz, I find. Here's what some of the boxes are looking like. I'm going a little too fast here. And here's an overhead view, a few photos of the garden in September. We did have vegetables growing. We did have these many boxes producing organic food. And now we're down to, I'm going to say how we get there. Some of the things we still need to do at the garden, and I'll read off this list for you. Is we already have in the works and the plans laid out to build our boardwalk, which is a pretty big endeavor. That's in the $30,000 to $40,000 range because it needs to be to code. We needed to work some rules between the boardwalk and how to use this garden while school is in and while school is out. So we do have an accessible garden for those that need easy accessibility. It is up on a hill. We are hoping to install a 40 by 16 greenhouse center for teaching and for seedlings and for growing our own seedlings there. We'd still have approximately 30 raised beds to build for mobility issues. So they're higher beds. People don't have to bend over. We still have a meditation garden to put together. We still have a citrus garden to put together, and that's all going to happen this spring as well. We do have some repairs to make because the buildings were shuffled from one location to another. So we're working on solidifying those and making them more safe. And let's see, we have some signage. We have a lot of ideas and a lot of things to do going forward, but we're still working on the fundamentals of getting food growing and food trading. So that's in our works for now. From you, we request the amount of $10,000 from you to help us purchase and install the community greenhouse, which is a big part of our project. Since the starting days of our community garden in 2011, the town of Shediac has always demonstrated community stewardship by investing in our project. We appreciate your partnership working towards solutions for healthy eating, healthy living. Unfortunately, the space available is not sufficient to fill the growing needs of our communities. We are hopeful that the town of Shediac and neighboring communities will prioritize spaces such as this for its growing population. And then we have it in French. Is everybody okay with my English and
yes.
Not talking too fast? A little nervous still. Okay. We will continue to fundraise by applying for grants with the following. We have Ville Kapakadi. We have Foundation, the John Lyons Foundation, the Rotary Club, the Lions Club, the UNI, the United Way Centrade, the Government of Canada and the provincial government, and private sponsors and donors. Then we have our memberships. Their memberships do pay for boxes. And we certainly have had to cut back a lot of box requests because we just don't have the space on our land at this time. One of our visions is to reach out. We've recently applied and been approved for a grant through Senior Horizons group. And this is all very new to me as well, but we will be implementing garden boxes at the senior homes here in Shediac. And I think that is tremendous. There is nothing healthier in a community than involving the seniors. So that grant. We'll be working on that this summer. We also hope to use the greenhouse as our training and workshop for people. So there was a lot of training going on in the garden in the past, and this year I haven't been involved in any yet, but we are teaching food preservation and how to bottle and how to pickle again, and all these young children throughout this project. That's the purpose of the greenhouse as well. It's big, it's protecting from the elements, and we could use that for training going forward. Sorry, I'm a little bit ahead of my slides, keeping this coordinated. And I'm going to move on to this one. This is the greenhouse that we're looking to get. It seems to be a very solid structure. There's been a fair bit of research done on it, and it's worked in the past. We've gone to see a few of these examples, and it's the price range for this particular greenhouse, I believe, is $10,000. It's $20,000. Okay. Oh, yes. Okay. Yes. But
Yeah.
this is the greenhouse we're looking at getting. And we do have the space on the land that we have to install this greenhouse as it stands right now. And as part of this presentation project that we've put together, we just made a list of all those that have helped us in this past for our partners and our sponsors. And if anybody would like a copy of this presentation to go over any of the details, I will summarize my portion of the presentation there.
Yeah. Thank you. François, je ne sais pas s'il y avait d'autres choses que tu voulais ajouter. Là.
Je sais pas si j'ai le temps, là, 10 minutes.
I don't know if I have a minute or two, or I know we've gone over time, but
Là, ça va-tu, là?
okay. My part, honestly, as she explained, I do the liaison between the community gardener and the LGR. I'm a teacher there. I teach sciences, and the principal came to do the presentation. I met the community garden for a couple of meetings. They explained the project, and they said, what can we do as a project as students and with the courses or classes? And I thought, well, we have a problem. What do we do in the winter? Because if we look at the calendar, the arrow shows what the time we have to grow things. And if you remember, September is early school, and then we're done in June. So that gives us about 2 months to play with this, and we have to plant, and we have to harvest, so of course we need to have a greenhouse to prolong the season. So it allows us to increase that window of opportunity and to plant different things, tomatoes, peppers, and whatever, you know this. But that's the main goal for us. We can work longer in the greenhouse with our students. So for a couple of reasons, the reason we need this at the school is to grow different things. We can not grow peppers in those bags with the bins. We have new arrivals from the Philippines, Mexico. They like different vegetables, or to show us not only to grow them, but how to use them. So when there's kitchen courses, that'd be nice to have access to this, not just for cooking, but for the school's kitchen itself, maybe lettuce, tomatoes. This would be interesting to be able to say that we supply a good part of our vegetables to the school. That's what we're eating ourselves. So I teach science. That's the aspect that I find very interesting. That's what I said to them last time. This is all nice, but I have to teach science. Growing a garden, not so sure. But when we have a greenhouse, now we can explore different things, technologies, hydroponics, grow lights, heating, and so on, how to keep this functional and working well.
Puis ça, c'est quelque chose d'autre que je
So
voulais
we
mentionner.
can link with the children. Something else I want to mention. For a long time in classes, we're sitting, not doing nothing. Now we have technology. People is already tired with technology to go to an iPad and computer. I can guarantee you that. So if I mention something like this, I really get interest on their part. So so many courses that we can link with, labs, environment, biology, horticulture. There's a new course that's being developed right now. Cooking. I talked about filmmaking. Something could film this throughout, and the different students with special needs. That's something they're already helping us. So they like to spray. So construction, yes, everything. Yeah. So thank you very much for this. So now I know we have a motion on this. Motion de Council Cormier.
Commentaire après la résolution. Mais
okay.
Je vais m'asseoir avec la
I
résolution.
have a comment about the resolution. Be resolved that we accept the request for a grant of $10,000 for 2024 to help the Shediac Community Garden to complete their projects on their new lot, that they be taken from the account grant 10 and its amount of $3,100 was already approved during the deliberation 2024 budget deliberation at the balance of 6,800, 500, also coming from the same budget, will also come from the same account. Please note the amount presented to the Shediac Community Garden will revert to $3,150 in future years. I so move. Moved by Councillor Cormier, seconded by Councillor Germain Gallon. Any questions on the motion? Councillor Peter Bro. Yes, Your Worship. Not a question, but it's a commentary. Comment. I'd like to congratulate people of the community garden that were able to bring back to life. There had been a phase where there had been lots of challenges, and I think that the partnership with the school LGR was a plus for the community. And I congratulate the people involved, and I will certainly support this motion. Thank you very much.
Councillor Murray Lloyd.
First, I will certainly support this motion, but I have two questions. Do you do any work with the gardens in Shediac Cape?
Odette will know
Odette would have
that network.
she has that background.
Thank you. Sherry, thank you, Sherry and Francois, you did an excellent job. I can turn over my role and rest in peace. One thing that Sherry forgot to mention is that we were approved for a major contribution from Regional Development Corporation last year, and they subsidize us up to 45% of our infrastructure. So they are already engaged in the greenhouse part. So their 45% will help. Plus we have some private donations going towards that. So you're not financing the whole greenhouse. So that's what I wanted to add before I answer Murray's question. Thank you. The community garden in Shediac Cape, when we started back in 2011, Joyce Tilbert was a member of our board, and she convinced us to start that community garden. So it was kind of at arm's length with our community garden, and they formed their own board, and then her and George Welling and a few other volunteers, they started it. So they started projects with the Shediac Cape School. And I think that their population got older and they kind of ran out of energy. As I've learned recently, we were surveyed by a professor from Dalhousie University, and he said that he's done a lot of research throughout Canada and that we are one of the role models for other community gardens. So I just wanted to share that good news with you. Doesn't mean that it's any easier for us, but it means that we sort of have the right people on board to help us survive, and we have the support of the community. So what happened with Shediac Cape is I believe that at a certain point, they couldn't find any other members to take over. So they've kind of granted part of that land to the Shediac Bay Watershed Association that plants a seedling, they plant little trees. And I think that Shediac Cape School still uses no, they don't. So I'm not really aware because they kind of took over. And last year when we were looking for a space, we did approach the Anglican Church. We asked them to see if we could take over that space because we were desperate. We were looking for any space at all. And they weren't willing to. They said, well, we're just going to let it go. We tried it and it didn't work. So
Fine, thank you.
Thank you very much.
My second question is, for the educator here, does the Department of Education contribute at all to this endeavor? You're using a lot of, from what you said, you're using a lot of their students' time and efforts in this endeavor. Does the Department of Education contribute?
I'm not sure.
Well,
No.
not yet. We haven't.
Okay.
We're just starting. Like we've opened doors, and we said we would partner with some courses at the school, and we're kind of partnering with them. And there's also that new daycare on Main Street. They're going to have a special course with a nutritionist, and there's going to be space allotted in the community garden for children from the age of 2 to 12. So it'll be a learning center for them as well. So we haven't tackled Department of Education, but I'm sure that we will. Thank you.
Thank you. Conseiller Roland Cormier.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Je suis le liaison.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm the liaison with that committee. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the group, Your Worship. I want councillors be made aware that this group, that group, spends a lot of time, very vigilant. They have a vision. They make sure that they get to the right destination. They then there were two fundraising events that did really well. Every time Julie calls regarding activities, the committee can sell 50/50s at the municipal activities. The group never says no. They're the fillers for selling lots of tickets. They do their part, taking into consideration that last year, at this time of the year, there was nothing on that site. And if you look at what they've done, from really zero, congratulations to the organization. Personally, I didn't know the community garden before I became involved. I am so surprised. I see the devotion of all those people. It's incredible to see people so focused and trying to make progress. I thought that 150 food boxes would be too much for our community, way too much. Last meeting, we see that it's not big enough. The challenge is to go find more land, to expand the garden. Not obvious, because it's a Department of Education piece of land. I would like to personally thank Bob and his team last year, the tractors and all that. Your staff were seen as like they're doing the Lord's work, and I want to make sure that they know about it. Julie, also every time the community contacts you, you're always open to doing what you can, within your budgets. It shows that the municipality supports this project, and I congratulate you for having taken the initiative to do that, and your worship. I hope that we'll all support this recommendation. Thank you, Councillor Cormier. You answered the only question I had just now, so I have no questions. So, on the motion, moved by Councillor Cormier, seconded by Councillor Galland. All those in favor shall say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Excuse me. We're proud to support community groups. So, next, we have a presentation of a citizen, Mr. Alain Giroir. I thought it might be you.
I'm going to speak in English. That's okay. So, Mr. Mayor, by all means, and honorable council members, it's good to see an opposing view in the sense that to all these beautiful expenditures and these beautiful programs, somebody has to pay for them. I knew with the amalgamation that the Pointe-du-Chien was going to be taken over by the township of Shediac, and the taxation would go to the roof with no representation. The last budget was amended, and Shediac Pointe-du-Chien taxes went up. And I find myself now in a place that my future, it was always my dream to give that property to my daughters, the princesses in my life, and keep it in the family. Where my father lived in Pointe-du-Chien, build my father's place, which was our place, and I cut the grass where I build my place. I'm still building it. My assessment in 2 years has gone up $700,000. $700,000. I'll give it to you, Mr. Mayor. So you know what that entails. We know in today's day and age, with Canadians facing incredible energy prices, grocery prices, some people are going without food so they can buy their meds. We are in an economic tight vice where we need to show restraint. Not to say that these projects don't need to go, like that ladder truck. The apartment buildings are going up. They're going to need to go up. But these replacement migration where all these taxpayers have to pay for all of these extra services, well, that money needs to come from somewhere. And the somewhere is tapped out. And basically, I'm so disappointed that tax rate, because most communities kept it the same. And for it to be raised is unheard of in today's day and age. And with the appraisals going through the roof because of the bubble that has been instituted because of the money printing in this country at $600 billion, and the people from Ontario coming over to New Brunswick, it's causing this to be artificially elevated and causing even more hardship to the individuals. So, unlike my father and his father, to try to keep this within the family and whatnot, I'm going to have to now make provisions for that to happen because I see no end in sight in the taxi grabs situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Prochain point.
Next item. Reading of correspondence. It's item 7. Mr. CAO. The first two, we'll let the clerk read it. So, Mr. Clerk will indeed handle this. So, communications, you've received it last Friday. We received a communication from Tantramar Seniors College. Over the last few years, has been offering training to people 50 and up. They've been using the multifunction center to do this. And in the past, the town reimbursed the rental costs, given that it was educational in nature. So the same request is coming to us now. You see this the communication has been received lately. And we're asking if the town would be in favor of supporting this request from the Tantramar Seniors College. There's a motion, Councillor Bertin. I have two in a row. Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin, you want to read it? Certainly. Thank you. Be it resolved that the municipal council agrees to cover the rental costs of $1,293.37 for the multifunctional center. The funds will be taken from the account Subvention 1-21033. I so move. Moved by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin, seconded by Councillor Paul Boudreau. Any questions? Councillor Boudreau, thank you for supporting that motion. The last years, it came from the healthy communities budget. Doesn't matter where it comes from. It comes from the grants. When we do budget deliberations, there's an item for seniors, and it came from that fund. So if you want to take that from that one or another account, identified 27018, but one or the other, it's fine. If they need to come back, the administration will come back to it. That's a detail. So there's a motion on the table. All those in favor shall say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried. Next. To my right or to my left? Mr. Clerk, yes. We also received a letter from the Legion, number 33 in Shediac. It's a national tournament that's to be held in our community, in our municipality, from the 26th to the 28th of 2024. It's requested that we participate publicity-wise. So to buy a full page of ad or half page or quarter page, in the past, municipality had bought a full page of ads for that type of activity. There's not necessarily a resolution, but just to advise you that letter that we received. We're going to study the situation and make a recommendation to the council if we do need more. Come back to the council if we do need more information. But just wanted to keep you apprised of that. It's a lovely activity. Councillor Renaud Cormier. Not a question. I'm even ready to do a motion. I'm certainly ready to help the Legion in Shediac and the veterans of our region. Your Worship, I'm willing to do make a motion that we buy a full page, cost of $500, as an ad. I so move. Moved by Councillor Renaud Cormier, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sylvie Colette Boudreau. For a full page at $500. Any questions on the motion? Otherwise, all those in favor say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried. Thank you. Next. Crosswalk on Main Street. No, not Councillor. Mr. CAO, thank you, Your Worship. I mostly worked with the team, Bob's team on that file. We did receive a request in May 2023 that was submitted again in October 2023 by the owner of the Moc Tortue, Sébastien Després, so that we would consider putting in a crosswalk across Main Street, right across from his business and the Maison Pascal Poirier. The reason that we hadn't brought it to the attention of the council before now, we did want to have it evaluated assessed by engineers, as we usually do with that type of request. We seek an opinion from an engineering firm to see if there's a need or if it meets the criteria for a crosswalk at that spot. So Bob and his team went to seek out the help of WSP to do an assessment. You see the assessment in your kit that we just received February 14th. And that's why we're finally ready to present this request to the council. But the recommendation from WSP is that the request does not meet the necessary requirements for a crosswalk, given the two other crosswalks that are quite close to this place. So our recommendation would be to follow the recommendation of WSP and to inform the applicant unless the council sees things differently. If I remember properly, we moved some crosswalks, two places since I arrived on the council. One which was across from the Tim Hortons, that was much closer to the downtown. We moved it over there, and the other one was in the downtown, where it crosses close to the Dixie Lee and Bell and Setup, Ferguson's haircutting. In both of those cases, because it was on Main Street, which is a provincial secondary street, we need their approval as well, if I recall properly. So it was not just, well, we can do it if we want. It's more a question of there's another government level that we have to involve in all this. And what's more, according to the report, it doesn't seem to meet the criteria that you would need for that application. We could do some research in terms of what it would involve on the part of the province. Councillor Paul-Boudreau, question. I'm curious, how much does it cost for a study like this? Roughly, ballpark. I don't have that figure on me, but it was less than $5,000 or so, $2,000 or $3,000. What I worry about is that, as your worship said, there's a transportation plan that should tell us what we can do and what we can't do on related to crosswalks. My worry is that if any business starts to ask for crosswalks in front of their business, and we spend $5,000 and $5,000 here for studies, isn't there a master plan for Main Street that we could base ourselves on with figures? Then the staff could say, no, look, we have a master plan that says that's where the crosswalks are to be. I worry about this, that as the town develops, if everyone expects to have a crosswalk, you raise a good point. Also, the master plan for transportation is meant to be revised. There's a budget set aside to update it now. Bob, do you want to add something? Obviously, the crosswalks in that area have been there for a long, long time. So maybe needs have changed, and maybe that's what a transportation master plan and can show. Thank you. Great. Well, so number 8, there's no finance reports today. That's for next time, and that was at the last meeting, I think. Protection services, no reports from the police. This is they can do something verbally, I suppose, but they have something that is published every 3 months for the region, and they do the sub-region for the detachment of Shediac at the same time. Just fire services. This happened at the last meeting. I see the fire chief with us. We always thank you for your services. Related to the event that was lost on the ice, were you involved in that one? I imagine you were. It was in the region after all, unfortunately. It's a tragic loss on that front. Nobody plans for that. Number 8.3, building permit report. We see it's for the first month, the month of January, for $3.7 million on that front. It's a good first month. We're continuing towards another total figure until December 2024. And I do believe it'll be a nice figure on that front. Number 9. Sorry, Councillor Emile O'Brien, you have a question? Yeah, yes, Your Worship. Building permit of $3.5 million. Is that one permit or is it several? Or it's more than one, I think. 5 building permits adding up to that $3.5 million. It's not just one building. For residential, there were 5 permits issued. This is in January. Usually, do we list them all, or are they do a bunch of them like that? No, we put them in the category residential or commercial. We always do residential, multi-residential, and commercial. That's fine. I was just curious. It's a good question. Indicates the number of building permits right after. I see it now. Oh, now I see it. So, next point, the CAO's report. Thank you, Your Worship. Just a few points quickly. Certainly, the team is working hard to make some progress on the many files that we have before us. I don't remember if I mentioned it before, but the Lino Road piece of land is officially belongs to us. The transaction was completed. We're working with our lawyers to complete the purchase of below Saint Joseph Street. It's a joint project with the Legion, and also to sell the land at 42 King Street to Habitat for Humanity to make their project move forward. So that's what's underway right now. We have a few committees of the council that are planning meetings soon in terms of economic development, auditing committee, environment committee, and we'll have a proposal for you next week or in 2 weeks. And also the Protective Services Committee is meeting soon to discuss the emergency plan, to offer up an update on that front. We're also trying to finalize some construction projects on West Main, Inglis, and Pleasant, the phase 1 projects that were done in 2023. We're going to be able to go to the Financing Corporation for the municipalities to make those short-term loans, long-term loans, to be able to pick them off of our borrowing capacity. Also, we received the visit of Accessibility New Brunswick. They came last week and the week before to assess, to confirm the accessibility of our buildings. They assessed the municipal building, the library, and the multi-use center. And they'll come back in a few weeks with some recommendations in terms of how we can improve accessibility in our buildings. We also, last week, had a meeting with the businesses that will be affected by the construction on Main Street this year. We had a good meeting with them, a good presentation, and they asked us, we asked our engineers to be here next meeting to make the same presentation to us, to make sure that you have all the information. I think that it's good news. They seem to want to have the presentation. We did manage to take into consideration the any preoccupations of the business owners to make sure that there are 2 ways to travel on Main Street and to minimize work during the heavy period of the summer. And so that we'll have a presentation at the meeting on March 4th. We also had a meeting of the Management Committee for EcoVision 2025. That's an initiative that we're seeing coming to an end slowly but surely. And we're starting to discuss what the next version of that might look like. So there's work that has started on that front. It's a project that we're doing jointly with Kapakadi and the 2 watersheds of the region. We're in great discussion with them in terms of the projects foreseen for the coming weeks and months to prepare for the next wave of that initiative. So those are some of the more recent elements in the last 2 weeks. Are there any questions and comments? I have one. There's also the 3CC Day. Given that we have February 29th this year, it's a leap year, so there's quite a bit of programming foreseen for that extra day that we have every 4 years. I don't know if Julie wants to maybe add a word on that. Well, as much Danny as me. It's jointly with both of our departments. I think you're sitting at the same spot. So 366 instead of 365 days in the year. So to answer your question about 366, that's what it refers to. And over the evening, the Danny's department with the Chamber of Commerce will be launching. Are there still some? That's the Chamber of Commerce. Well, on my side, I can say we're going to have activities on the stage of Parc Pascal Poirier in the evening. We're going to close the street on Weldon in front of the Pension Center, the federal building, to offer horse-drawn carriage. It'd be more romantic than during the carnival. It's a limit of 4 people in the horse-drawn carriages, and we'll be able to go around Brown Street, Bideau, come back up through Pleasant, stop in front of the hotel, and then we'll be picking up people at the station, just to give you a little sense of what will happen. Hot chocolate will be there, cupcakes, and some nice candles. A DJ will be playing as well. And on the street, given that we're closing Weldon Street, there'll be some ball hockey as well. Great.
Juste pour vous donner un peu d'informations, c'est qu'en conjonction avec la Chambre de commerce.
To give you a bit of information in collaboration with the Chamber of Commerce and the town, they done Folie de la Chaudrée a few years ago. So this year they went around. They wanted to say we're going to do big things with that, even with good intentions and good ideas in terms of restoration. There was not enough participation, so that's why I'm not here for a big announcement this evening. But the reason we last meeting, and that's why that formation is lacking. But other things will come up in the future. Thank you very much. I want to congratulate for Sunday night the time, the weather was just right for fireworks. It was a good thing. So, thank you. I just went to see on the site for Experience Shediac. It invites people as well on the 29th to let us know. People can advise us that there should be something special should be happening. So that'd be interesting as well. Yes, there'll be cupcakes, but everything to share with everybody. We'll mention this, and we'll have a special gift for people. 2 cupcakes, and there was a lack there. Maybe a special cupcake. So, I had a question on something that the director mentioned. The ground on Minot that we've acquired, it's close to the solar panel park of NB Power, and if I remember correctly, the Can-Am Association in Shediac wanted to do a path, a trail on that section. Have we started to plan something, and I hope that it could go ahead and go along the lines with NB Power, because then they'll have a chance to see the power, the solar power plant. We would like people to see that. There'll be commercial development along the highway. So is that proceeding? I think that's, we've talked about this last week or the week before. We'll assess the ground and future projects and those grounds in the future. and to see what we could be doing. Some development needs to be planned. So as we collaborate, we'll come back with a good product. Thank you. So now that was 9. Number 10, the recommendation for 360. So easement for that's local service easement for. I can talk about this quickly. Jeff is here if we need to, but it's fairly simple as an issue this evening. The owners of the Webster House wanted to subdivide a land they had behind it, close to the Webster Street, and by subdividing the ground, there was a fire. In case there was planned to make repairs and whatever. So there was a site for a fire hose there. So we just wanted to ask for the permission to accept that easement behind the Webster Street. Roland? So an easement you're talking about? I'd be ready to make the motion. Yes, we need one. So given that the staff recommends 360 that they give the easement local government as part of the Community Planning Act. So the reason that we approve that easement as presented on the local General Financial Corporation. So it's so moved by Cormier, seconded by Joël Després. So that's to establish an easement. There should have been one a long time ago, but we're creating, we're closing that gap. So all those in favor say aye, and contrary-minded nay. Motion carried. Nothing to so new brigadier for Shediac Cape. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You remember at the last meeting. Okay, so he's switching to English.
At the last council meeting, we had considered a request to have to hire a crossing guard to service the crosswalk in front of the Shediac Cape School because of the level of traffic on the highway there, or the main road that runs through Shediac Cape, Route 134. So after looking at obviously the precedent that we have here in Shediac already for the MFB school, where we do pay and cover the costs of a crossing guard, the administration felt that it was only appropriate to provide the same level of service for the Shediac Cape School. So the administration would recommend to council that we create a crossing guard position for the school, and the budget required for the position would be drawn from the special projects of council, les projets spéciaux du conseil, and for this year, and then obviously for future years, it would be included in the budget as a regular budget item, just like the other one.
Parfait. Conseil Paul Boudreau?
Oui, c'est une excellente initiative. Merci bien. Sur le point de vue légal, je sais que le point MFB.
Excellent initiative on the legal aspect. I know that this is a provincial route, 134. I'd like to verify what the role of a crossing guard. Are we in the right to do this? I fully agree. It's a good initiative, but we want to make sure that that we compare properly. Yeah, it's a good question. We have not asked that question, so we could certainly do this, but it's the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure, DTI, that recommended to the school to make that request to that municipality for that crossing guard. So by default, it looks like the department DTI was encouraging this process, but we could check to be 100% certain. There's a speed limit that reduces speed in front of the school, as mentioned some time ago, and they should be reduced even more during school hours. It goes down to 50 clicks per hour. I think what the request was to slow down to 30, but I think it's just at 50 at this point. So thank you. I support this initiative. So make a motion, talk about it. Given that the council got a request from 19 January for a crossing guard position in front of the school during rush hour for youth, must cross Route 134 to get to school. Be it resolved that council accepts the administration's recommendation to create a crossing guard position for the Shediac Cape School, and that the budget required for this position, estimated at $10,000, be drawn from account special projects of council 1-28253. So I so move. So moved by Councillor Cormier.
Appuyé du conseiller Murray Lloyd.
Okay, seconded by Lloyd.
No. I'm not sure if I would ever make that. Conseiller Roland Cormier, tu avais une question?
So, Cormier, question. Comment, Councillor Boudreau mentioned the idea of going down from 50 to 30. There are other examples that exist in the province. My question is, does the administration look at to take steps with the local department or provincial if people in the Acadian Peninsula are important enough for their citizens to reduce their speed there? I think the lives of our citizens in Shediac Cape are just as important as in the Acadian Peninsula. So will we do that request? Yes, we would need a motion by council. Yes, we could certainly do so. So the school made the request, but the request has been refused. But yes, we can redo that. We don't a motion. So a motion for like 2 weeks. So up to you. I think there's a consensus. So we can check on this and so we can get a suggestion to verify and then come back to the council. I just want to remind you that even though we're in a way to managing the council, if we see the bylaw, it says that we can do motions. I don't want to go into a debate, but we said we wanted to change it, and respect that, but maybe there's a consensus that we could do the motion. So try to do the motion. Okay, so it's an issue on motion. I could do amendment. No, for the motion to assume the cost of a crossing guard. Switch to English. All those
opposed, nay. Motion carried. Merci. Puis là, le sujet, c'était brigadier.
So now the topic is the crossing guard. That's why I hesitate to have a point on X and we do a Y motion. That's the only thing I wanted to be careful about. So, request for information. Do you want to ask a question to administration? I have two questions to ask. In the reports, I want to know if we contacted the lawyer for the letter for the Committee on Riverside Drive. Has this been done? Yes, we told the lawyers the day after the meeting, and we were waiting for the first step. For them, it's not the firm per se that does the research. Outside committees do this, and when the research is done, it's sent to the lawyers, and then they come back with a recommendation, a legal recommendation. So the request was triggered, but we don't have results. Do we have a timetable? Not really. It'll depend on what the research finds and what context is. So it's a question of many weeks, as we said from the start. So when it comes back, you'll be the first to know for sure. Thank you. Secondly, a report on the ball hockey park. Where are we with that? I can add a few words. You remember you adopted, you gave the mandate to Julie and her team to proceed with an approach to how we would make that ground at the level it needed to be to have activities. So presently, all those projects for building are in the planning stage, and we want to be able to call for tenders to the work this spring. We had to make the entrance, parking lot, add toilets in the building. So all those things were part of the plan presented by Julie, and it's on those projects that we're working now. I don't know if Julie wants to add, but that's usually we already have a program set up. We have ball hockey sessions that will be there. We're booking the arena in case of rain and be able to use the arena more often during the season this summer, the non-winter season. And we'll have other sports. It's a multi-sport. So we bought all the equipment for different different basketball, different fitness, training, and people will be able to manage that programming, to be able to come and use the equipment. And after a few free sessions, they'll be able to use the equipment by themselves, so that they can use it by themselves. Thank you. Anyway, to communicate, we know that many donors took part in the project. It seems we're not sure where we're at. Could we have a committee who is away from the mic there? Can we find out where we're at? Yes, it's part of our objectives. We've planned to communicate with them, and I'm with the main sponsor, the home hardware surface. So I communicate closely with them, and together we'll communicate with the other sponsors as well. Thank you. So, Boudreau, I wanted the list of capital projects. Could we have that, please? We talked about this in December. Yes, I'll prepare a list. I forgot there's a lot of things going on, and it was referred to before. So we have excellent projects on the table, so it'd be nice to have the list of projects.
Dossier pour les rues de la Pointe-des-Chênes. Qu'est-ce que la prochaine étape?
Weeks ago, we mentioned something about the Pointe-du-Chêne issue. So that 2 weeks ago, we haven't done much on that yet. We'll have to start by having a discussion with the lawyers. To have discussions, we've started to think about different ways that we could address the issue, but that's something that's going to require more than a few weeks. But the first step would be discuss with the lawyers now with different issues right in their hands at this point. I wanted to have them complete one or two more, do a couple of them before pursuing. Thank you. For Canada Games in 2029, there's possibility that we might collaborate with Greater Moncton. If it's I saw through the media that it's coming to an end. Have we done anything on that? I had made a motion that we could take a clear position on this. We were told no. That, so what's happened with that? Well, process was done, official communication between me and the mayor in Moncton, and we express our interest to support their being a candidate for the games. And there's been a discussion regionally, provincially. At one point, they thought might be games shared between the three games, but it's not clear yet. So at least we're able to show interest, and the sports would be more appropriate. Sailing with the Shediac Bay, that would be fine in Moncton. So beach volleyball, we have nice installations. Provincial Park, Parley. And so I haven't had an echo yet, but I think the end date is end of February. I think we'd put 400 grand for a boardwalk and $750,000 for the crosswalks, not the crosswalks, but the we have this on for the meeting on March 4th, and see what the approach is for those for 2024 for those sidewalks. So again, the fireworks are excellent Sunday. Thank you. Councillor Després, about the letter to send the province to review the exit in Scodouk. There's another citizen mentioned that there's still problems happening, myself and others as well. So it'd be nice to follow up with the province. Yes, definitely. We submitted the request, regional engineer, and he said he had shared this with the responsible person in Moncton, in Fredericton. It was not regional. It would be based out of Fredericton, but no echo on that yet. So, bylaws, we have two readings proposed here, and I'll let, why are we doing this? If you remember, a few years ago, the watershed group and part of EcoVision 2025 always asked us to suspend the bylaw about the tall grasses in the town of Shediac for the no mow. So the recommendation was to, instead of coming back every year with such a request to approve this motion, we would add dates in the bylaw. So it would start on June 1st and extend to early December, I think. So we wouldn't have to come back every year to ask for this to be suspended. You know, it would just take effect on June 1st and remain in force until December 1st. Do you want to read that? So, 59, that the bylaw 59 be authorized, and this bylaw be part of a first reading. No, we don't need to read that part. So it's moved by Janice Cormier, supported by Galland. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded, motion carried.
Je veux bien parler, monsieur le maire. Pas de problème de ce côté-là.
So,
Arrêté numéro 59.
59 about tall grass in Shediac. That's the one. Was there another line being pursuant to the authority vested in it by the Local Governments Act, the Council of the Town of Shediac duly assembled makes the following.
Non. C'est bien. Non, mais habituellement, on avait.
Normally, we had the line, councillor moves, the registrar reads it, that's why it was applicability in that section there.
Parfait. Je crois que faut accepter.
So I think we have to accept the bylaw as proposed. So first reading, I think that's what was missing. So moved and seconded. We'll go to the second part. All those in favor say aye. Counter-minded nay. Motion carried. Thank you. And we'll do the second reading next week, or in 2 weeks. I have a question. The only thing, yes, I agree with this, but last year, the government building in Shediac, they changed their ground, they put different plans and so on. There's a lot of the tall grass that stays there. You have to follow the bylaw. And they said that they could leave their tall grass. It looks like hay. That's it. It's their project, their decor, or the company that is landscaping for them. That's the type of plants they've used based on the plan that was given to them by the pension center. So it's for us like in our flower boxes, we have higher grass.
C'est pas juste de l'herbe.
It's not just grass, regular grass left there, but it's somewhat the same thing. I agree that it looks a bit different, but we were told that this was supposed to look like that because it had been planned based on the type of plants that were chosen. It seems against a bit the bylaw, especially where it's downtown. I know where we have our plants. These are small portions, but there are big ones there. So if somebody wanted to plant that elsewhere, we could. I just like for us that summer we can look at this and see how we could change not the plants, but maybe cut shorter, or it was mentioned that it. That because of the bylaw we have, we could have a discussion with them and to see if it was part of the landscaping plan. That's what I've been told. It was approved by approval at town. No, it would be theirs. So just if you allow me, I could shed some light. That issue was presented to us a few years ago because they wanted to redo all the outside of the building on Weldon, and the plan in terms of cultures and regions, different plants. They'd mentioned different plants related to Acadians, natives, and so on. That was part of their plans. So maybe it's not just the communication is not clear on that. But that was the goal, to make sure there's different vegetation to represent the different cultures here in terms of the federal building. So that was all part of the concept of the plan. But there again, when we do things and it's not communicated, then sometimes that explains why there's Victoria is right. It was part of their plan, and there was a reason why. Yeah, so communicate better so that citizens will know. A question on the scope of the bylaw. Is it the older limits, boundaries of Shediac, or the new ones? Because the bylaw does not specify. But now we're adopting one. So I just want, I'd like this to be clarified before the third reading. I'll ask you the question again. What is the desire of the council? Want this to apply to the old boundaries or to the new boundaries, the new entity of the town? It's a decision up to you, to members of the council. Do we limit this to the old territory, the new territory? The intention is just for in terms of the date at this point, from such a date to another date. Other than that, the bylaw would be the same.
Que ça soit clarifié pour nous tous, là, simplement. Councillor Roland Cormier,
Councillor Roland Cormier, you're up next on Mr. and the CAO's remark. If you want to go outside of the new standards, in my mind, I thought that we would look at what there was in Shediac, what we want to start to put in the other regions, to have consultations with our citizens, and to go forward. I agree. If we do one like this and there's no consultation, maybe that's where we'll go, but I think it's important that we have some consultation with our citizens. So if you're asking my opinion, I think that it should remain. It was a regulation for the former town of Shediac. I think it should stay there. But when we start up the project of looking at all of the bylaws, we'll take a look at it then. That's my opinion. It's good to stipulate. And I'd like to just kind of continue on with Councillor Cormier's comments. My only question, not in disagreement with what the federal government wants to do there with all of those plants. I'm not in disagreement with it in principle. But I just want to make sure that if a citizen of our municipality were to come and did the same design on Sackville Street, that we don't have a problem with that either. And if we don't have a problem with the problem of that on Sackville, and we probably wouldn't have problems on Main Street. If a councillor has a problem with Sackville Street, we should have a problem with Main Street. If there's a law that says that the federal government is above and beyond the municipal laws, I'll accept that. But if I don't see that, I think that we need to treat all citizens equally. I know it's a good employer in our region. We like them a lot. And we're happy that they're in the municipality. But we have to treat our citizens on equal footing. It doesn't matter. That's my point of view on this. Thank you. Well, if you'll allow me, I think that our bylaw for tall grasses, there's no separate categories of grasses. There are grasses that we plant as lawn, and there's grasses that we plant that can grow taller than regular lawn. There's no one that's obliged to have the town approve their landscaping plan. We don't offer permits for that unless we want to start limiting certain types of plants. I think that these tall grasses, that the pension processing center, it's more of a plant than a lawn. It's not the same thing. I'll end on this last point. The only point I want to make is if people in the pension center are allowed to grow a type of plant, the citizens of Shediac should be allowed to grow the same type of plant. It doesn't matter what type of plant it is. Ha ha ha. That's another type of debate. The only thing I would highlight in terms of this, the scope, in all the discussions I had and where the fusion was explained to me, including in the public meetings we had, the same point was made before extending the range of a bylaw to a new region that was recently amalgamated. We need some discussion. We want consultation. There's probably at least a few on our list that it wouldn't apply to them. So make it clear, not to appease people, but it's not. It's a bylaw is not a mean thing, unless it's something that it should be beneficial to your region. It's to help and to do good things, not lead to more bad things in the world. Madam Deputy Mayor, thank you, Your Worship. Two small points. I think at some point, when you want to extend the scope, is that the bylaw officer can do the work required because the region will be bigger. In terms of the pension processing center, there's a lack of communication right now, I think. It's not the tall grasses, it's weeding that wasn't done. I'll stop there because I think that the staff can communicate with those people at the pension center. I'm not there to defend the pension center. Not at all. I know a little bit more about what had went on. There's a lack on several fronts. It's not the tall grass, it's weeding that's a problem. Thank you. There wasn't any. Councillor Germain Galland. I don't sure if you realize this, but beach grass gets tall. And it looks like hay. The town of Shediac is surrounded by it all along Main Street. So since they planted it, I've been complaining since they planted it. Just buy some cows and then give it to the town of Shediac. That's my opinion from day one. I said it. I've complained lots of times. It's not pretty. It's not at all pretty. It belongs on the beach. I understand decoration, but it belongs on the beach. Last point, Councillor Paul Boudreau. I hope it's the last one on the last of the apostles. If you read definition, it has nothing to do with aesthetics. Everybody does find it ugly, but the definition, it's a danger for public safety. So those should be the key words to tell those individuals or that group. Look, you have no choice. If there's a fire at the building, you can discuss height and type of grass and all of that stuff. But as you say in English, so let's not. We shouldn't just talk about the height of grass all night here, but use public safety as the argument. That's all. Thank you very much. So next point, 15 motions and resolutions. We have one motion for the hiring of consultants for the Pointe de Chêne waterline extension study, fire.
Thank you, Mayor.
It's in your area.
Whereas at the ordinary council meeting on November 6, 2023, council mandated the town administration to study the possibility of extending the fire protection service to the Pointe de Chêne Wharf. Therefore, be it resolved that council authorize the awarding of the contract to the engineering study for the extension of the water line to Pointe de Chêne for fire protection service, in addition of fire hydrants, to EXP Services Incorporated for a value of $5,000 plus net HST. These funds will be drawn from account 1-28253 Special Projects of Council.
So moved by Councillor Harry McElroy, seconded by Councillor Emile O'Brien. Questions? Unless there was any particular information to provide?
No, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. This is just following up on a motion that was made by council to proceed with the work required to come back with some recommendations.
Sounds good. Conseiller Roland,
Merci, Monsieur le Maire.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm certainly not against the idea of doing an assessment for the citizens of Pointe de Chêne to ensure that they have better services, better fire services. What preoccupies me in this motion, though, that we're referring to right now, is that we're talking about taking $5,000 from the Special Projects Fund. When in the last 2 years, before the amalgamation and after amalgamation, we were always told that services that we would be obtaining in addition, in terms of infrastructure, that the local service districts would be covering all that. When you approved the budget in November, December, we approved a budget for infrastructure for the old town of Shediac, and we did not approve the budget outside of that for infrastructure projects. If we start with special projects of $5,000, where will it stop? The citizens of Shediac are already paying, of old Shediac are already paying for the program, the public works program, the special budget, and the citizens of Shediac are paying for that. Citizens outside of Shediac, of old Shediac, pay 41 cents for the same services. In reality, the $5,000 should come from the 41 cents in terms of the infrastructure project. I'm not convinced that if we send the bill to the provincial government that we get paid. And I understand that. But here is what I would suggest. I can't vote for the motion in the way that it's written. We're aware that we have accepted a budget of $80,000 for the local service district of Pointe de Chêne for their community center. We could get the $5,000 out of that account, and next year we could do taxation on that, because there'll be other requests that will come. It's the first request. There will be other requests, and it's not. If it's a shared service, it is indeed a shared service. In my eyes, it's not a shared service. It's an infrastructure. It's a future infrastructure that we're asking for. We could also say that if we go forward with this project, once we know all the costs and the citizens of Pointe de Chêne are ready to pay the amounts, appropriate amounts, we'll get an estimate. I hope with the $5,000, we could add it to the bill. But right now, Your Worship, I have a problem with the way that we've written it. On that point, I would like to make a motion that we table the resolution and we come back to it with another recommendation in 2 weeks. Okay? I have a motion to table. A motion to table. There's no debate. Do we table or not? It's the vote that decides, basically. However, we can offer information, perhaps. I don't know. But first of all, I need someone to second to table it. Councillor Jeunesse Cormier seconds tabling the motion. This is just information. It's not on the motion. Shared services and services that are not shared. The two big categories in our budget for our municipalities and many others as well. In non-shared services that the old citizens of Shediac pay, only them. This is for public works, basically. Municipal operations, economic development, and enforcement and municipal bylaws. Those three things, it's only citizens of former Shediac that pay that. The new regions added to Shediac and the people of old Shediac pay for all shared services, including the council special projects. Because there's no money in the budget, in the municipal operations budget for this. That's why we're taking it from there. And the citizens of Pointe-du-Chêne and Squidok and Shediac Cape and Squidok Road paid into that fund for the special projects. All of them as well, be it administration, staff salaries, community programs, fireworks on Sunday night. Everybody paid in that pot, basically. There's two pots. To be able to act on that, you have to get that money. When we speak of expenses, Your Worship, there's a motion that is tabled and is very tolerant in terms of your explanation. At some point, there's a motion made. We're asking for the vote. And what will happen with the vote will happen with the vote. And we might be able to have a discussion after the vote. I just want to keep general. Thank you. So on the motion to table the motion, all those in favor shall say aye. All contrary-minded, nay. The majority says table. So tabled to a next meeting and it will come back. Councillor Cormier, you were seeking some information, additional information. Can you phrase that for the staff? I would encourage the staff I would encourage the staff to look into the budget that they have already set aside for Pointe-du-Chêne, but to also come back with other recommendations, because there will be other requests from other local service districts, maybe Squidok at some point. For example, when we vote to extend or fix the main street of Shediac, the citizens of old Shediac are paying for that. And is that a good system, a bad system? I won't decide that, but I think that we need to think a bit further out. Can we say we'll take it from one budget to get it, seek it elsewhere in another next year? It might be an option, but we need to give ourselves some small budgets in the other localities. It's an infrastructure project. In reality, it should be the department that pays for this, but the department will surely not pay it because the people of Pointe-du-Chêne, as we saw the other day, are paying 1.2 or 1.3 million a year for services, infrastructure services, like as we would like to see. And according to them, they don't have they're not receiving what they deserve, and they're probably right. I say, give it back. Bring it back, think of it about it again. This is what preoccupies us, and provide us with another recommendation. The same motion will come back in 2 weeks. That's what we're tabling. We can ask the staff, administration, other information, but the text of the motion will, because the same motion will come back. Councilor Miller Bryan. Thank you, Your Worship. So what happened to the discussion with the council to table the motion? I'm a bit confused around the rules here. One member made an argument to table the motion. He made his motion to table. Isn't there supposed to be a discussion to table? There is no discussion to table. Tabling, just to put it back to another meeting. According to the Code Morin, it's not something that you discuss. This is a basic motion. It's a service, an infrastructure service, a simple one. A study for $5,000 for Pointe du Chêne. We put up their taxes this year. I really don't understand the reasoning of the members of the council, why they wouldn't want to do it. It's related to fire protection because it's a water line that goes up to the end of Pointe du Chêne. That will protect the houses there. It will reduce insurance rates. A lot of things for the people that were there. It's just, I don't understand what's the big deal. I saw the members of the council here giving money that a group never need to ask for. And now we're here, and for example, the ATV club, they asked for money, a certain amount of money. We asked and give them 5,000 money. I'm just comparing. It's really not fair. I find this is a basic structure, an infrastructure for Pointe du Chêne. We're committed to doing something for them in Scoudouc and Shediac Cape. Why? I know the motion passed, but it's not fair in my estimation. Anyway, I have nothing else to say. The motion is not defeated, it's just tabled. So I hope that in 2 weeks that we'll be able to have a better discussion on the main topic on that front. Thank you. That's great. Thank you. Councilor McElroy.
The motion did pass. I'm disappointed that it was brought forward. And also, I just want to ask that when it comes back, could we get some background information or relate the request, explain that it's just a request for the project, and knowing full well that that's going to be expensive and it's going to require other levels of government cost sharing and so on. But if the folks in Pointe du Chêne, the taxpayers in Pointe du Chêne, whose tax rate toward the town for shared services went up by 5 cents, I can't count on the town, for which it pays for fire services, to undertake a study relating to fire services and start talking about a local area rate. We're going backwards. That's not the way amalgamation is supposed to work. It's not good faith in my view, and I hope I'm comfortable and confident that things will be straightened out in a couple of weeks, but it's unfortunate we have to wait. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McBride. Councillor Paul Boudreau?
Yeah, Paul Boudreau. Can I share a suggestion, a recommendation? The goal of this is what is shared and what is not shared. We're not going to create a precedent. As I understood from what Mr. Hare was saying, it's for fire services. We have a budget for fire services. Can't we transfer? We often do this budget item from the special council, special projects for the councils, $5,000 a lot. Transfer the $5,000 in a fire services special project budget, add it to the budget, and pay for this study. Is it not as simple as that? If you look at the fire protection services, it is shared. The fire protection services is shared, and the eventual work, if it goes forward, that will have to be studied. Who pays for it? These are large amounts. The fire protection services operate the fire protection services. It does not operate the pipes that it's connected to. Do you know what I mean? It may be something to clarify. In terms of the special projects, there are lots of opinions to find funds for projects, special projects. This is a special project, well, not for the fire department. It's added. I think it justifies that we transfer some money for a project in our large community. I think that it allows Bob and his team to find a price for the big project. and it goes forward. If the council is not in agreement with that suggestion, we'll find other ways, but you look at the budget, and that's right. That's what I was looking. I think it's a simple solution. We often do it often enough. We transfer funds for other items. For the staff, Victor? Well, I just want to stipulate that the special funds for the council are in the shared services, as just like the fire protection services are in the shared services. So the transfer it from one account to another does not really cover Councillor Cormier's preoccupation. But that being said, well, listen, we're going to respect the process. The vote is clear. We'll come back in 2 weeks, but I can't see how else we can come back except in the way that we proposed. There's two budgets, there's shared services, and there's local cost budgets. It's not local because it's outside of the old town of Shediac, so that's why shared services are there. I can't see how else, and it's going to be the same thing when we're going to want to do a follow-up on the resolution that Councillor Murray Lloyd adopted for sidewalks in Shediac Cap. It's going to be the same thing. We discuss Scoothook Industrial Park. There is projects and infrastructure that are in our new borders that we're going to want to do certain things. And there's just two budgets. Either it's a local budget or it's a shared budget. There is no third category of budget. The key word is fire. It's not aesthetics. It helps with public safety. We understand that. That is all. Madam Deputy Mayor Colette Boudreau, thank you. This resolution, this motion was tabled. We continue to discuss it. Now, with all the information that you have given, we could present another motion and it might be passed unanimously. You give us all the information tonight that we're supposed to have in 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, we don't need to discuss it again. I find it goes faster. I strongly doubt it. With all the respect I owe to you, if it's tabled, let's stop talking about it. We just continue and move on. It's a little frustrating. I understand. So now it's the point where we have to adjourn. Yes, that's it. There's no nominations for tonight, and it's an adjournment. Sorry, it's adjournment. Moved by Councillor Jean Galland. Germain Galland. We are adjourned.